You are listening to the new man beyond the macho jerk and the new age wimp. Your host is men's coach Tripp Lanier.
Do you wish you could approach any woman, anytime, anywhere? Do you get stuck planning the perfect thing to say so you don't screw up? And how do you let her know you want to be more than just friends? Dating coach Shana James shares her feminine perspective to help all guys, single and married, let go of the mind games and have more confidence, freedom, and connection with the ladies. Welcome to The New Man. Today we are talking with Shana James. She's a dating and relationship coach. She runs a website at themanshewants.com. Shana, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So you've been on the show before. You're coming back around. But today I wanted to have you back on. You're already starting with the little, I can hear the little purring going on.
A little giddy purring that's happening.
There's some purring happening. I can sense that. Yeah. But I think I'm blushing. But I wanted to help the guy. I work with guys and then I talk to guys and I have friends of mine that are maybe like they've been in relationships and they're newly single. Maybe they're a little older. Maybe they're in their 30s or 40s and they don't want to get into the pickup scene at all, but they just want the choice to be able to walk up to a girl in Starbucks or at the library or the gym or wherever, but they just want that choice to be able to walk up to a girl and say, hi, I'm so and so or whatever, but they're just stuck. They don't know what to do, and then they get back in their car and they just beat themselves up, and they wonder if they'll ever see her again or if they've missed this opportunity to actually sit down and talk to this girl. So I was hoping that we could talk to you, an amazing woman and a dating and relationship coach. You work with guys on this stuff to just kind of give him some tools. He doesn't want to become this like player pickup artist guy, but he just wants that choice. So I'm just curious from your end, with approaches and that kind of stuff, what have you seen the guy dealing with? What's going on for him?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm so glad to be talking about this too, because I really specifically work with men in a non-pickup game. Here are the lines, here are the games you can play with. And so I'm really excited to talk about this in a way that men can actually relax into being who they are, and I see how approaching a woman brings up our worst fears or your worst fears as a man. It's like, it's that first moment of whether you are accepted or rejected. And the men I work with, really say that it's so challenging and it's painful. I mean, I see men having opportunity after opportunity, like where, women slip away or where another man suddenly seems to swoop in and all of a sudden the woman is interested, and it's like, wow, well, what happened to me? Why wasn't this working? Or, do I have to actually play games to have a woman be interested in me? And I really see how confusing it can be to be an intelligent, powerful man in the world and then have to face this part of the dating phase. It's like,
Yeah, when I talk to guys, especially if they're coming out of a relationship, this is the part they dread, is that awkward, stilted, like, okay, I have to go put on an act or I have to wear a stupid shirt or I've got to, go out to the bar or something and like somehow it's there's this gap, like there's who I really am, but I have to, before I can actually be that way with her, I have to go through all these hoops and basically bullshit her and bullshit myself, and then finally one day maybe we can actually be ourselves around one another. It just sounds awful.
Yeah, and I think one of the parts that's confusing is that I just started to make one of those what do you call those, horse lips, where you're like, like, God, the thing about being who we really are is that one part of who we really are is, that what's going on the inside matches what's going on the outside. And so we're not putting on a front, we're not putting on a facade, right? But then the other part of being who we really are is that if you're a man who's angry with women, or if you're a man who puts women on a pedestal and doesn't see your own value, any of those things that you're doing that separate you from a woman, if you're being who you really think you are, right? If you think you're that, then it gets in the way of having connection with women. And so part of the confusion is, okay, yes, I want you to be who you really are, because I think that is, otherwise, if you start to do games and lines and whatever, and then fine, you pick up a woman, but then once you start to be yourself, who knows if that woman's going to be interested in you, or if you're even going to be interested in her, right?
Right.
So then there's also that piece of really needing to look at, like, do I know my own value? Right? I mean, if I'm going to go walk up to a woman, but I think, she's never going to want me, and why would she choose me anyway? Or I'm just a blob, I don't have anything going on for me. If any of those things are true, then I think it's harder to create a connection with a woman, because you don't know your own value, right? And I don't know,
he's kind of he's in this catch-22. On one hand, if he's posturing, if he's puffing himself up or putting on an act, he's breaking down the opportunity for connection. But then also, if there's something going on between his ears, how he thinks or sees himself, and he's dismissing himself, and he doesn't get his own value there, that's going to cut off value, right?
Yeah.
Or, cut off connection. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we can talk about specific things, that men can do also. I know we're going a little bit more into the theory of this and what's going on, so we will give specific examples. But I think that's true. It's like, if you don't know that you are an amazing catch, or if you're not living your life in a way that you're actually feeling great about yourself, then it makes it a lot harder to be connected with a woman, because, if you're not feeling good about yourself, then you don't actually have the juice or the energy to then create that connection.
That seems to speak to what I hear guys say, especially when I'm coaching with the guys, like, look, let's just get your life going down this road of what you want to be doing. And then they just like, and then I met this girl over the weekend, and it just kind of happened. And it's like, well, no shit. Like, that's what happens when you take care of yourself and you're doing what you love, then the relationships seem to just kind of blossom from that place.
Yeah, I think so. And I think part of the reason for that is because if you're not feeling great about your life, and you're not living in a way that inspires you and has you feel, powerful, then when you meet people, I would imagine anyone, but especially women, then there's this tendency to go up in your head and, start to question and be in that loop of, okay, well, what am I doing, and why am I here, and what's even important about this? As opposed to, if you're feeling great about yourself, you're in a way of just enjoying your life and moving through your days and not questioning yourself as much. And so one of the things I think happens is that you stop being in your head so much, and you're actually living and enjoying the moment, and living more in your body and in your heart, and even what I would call, your balls. It's like your power, your sexual energy, and all of that's more online as opposed to just your head.
Well, tell me, you're a woman, and not just a dating and relationship coach. You can use that kind of language, but as a woman, what's your experience when you're hanging out with a guy and he's in his head? And I imagine, I'm going to kind of frame it for guys. I imagine it's like he's there thinking, and he's like, okay, I've got to get this right. I've got to say the right thing, he's all strategizing. He's really not there with you. So, what's it like for you to be with a guy when he's up in his head, as you said?
That's an awesome question, and I love how you put it. Okay, so being in your head means, strategizing or thinking about what's going to come next, and am I going to get it right? And for me, when I'm with a man like that, well, the first thing that I notice is that I go into my head too. And so maybe I'll start thinking or questioning myself as well. Sometimes that happens, or maybe it's just like I'm way more aware of my head and my mind. And so the conversation that he and I have is more of an intellectual conversation. And to put it bluntly, it's like, I'm not turned on, I lose track of even having a body. And for me, a big part of being a woman and being turned on is when there's a sense of when a man is actually feeling his own body and I'm feeling my body, it's a little bit mysterious, but there's almost this magnetic thing that happens between us.
Right.
So I would say if a man's in his head, I could have it's like a so-so usually intellectual conversation.
It's small talk. It's like what we experience as small talk. It's like chit chat
right.
or whatever. That's okay.
Chit chat, and I would say I would end up mostly feeling bored and just uninspired and kind of like, not interested in, wow, how can I see this man again? Or, the experience we're having together is so amazing that I want more of it. It's more just like, that was an average part of my day that I don't really want to put attention on making happen more of.
So even if this guy's wearing the quote unquote right shirt and he's working out and all that kind of stuff, the experience of being with him, if he's up in his head and he's strategizing and he's trying to get it right, and I'm going to put myself in that category. That's what when I'm scared, okay, I've got to get this right. And there's no room for experimentation and there's no room for curiosity or any kind of, playfulness. It's I wanted to say the right thing and I'm coming over here to say the right thing to you. So what, it's just like, you're telling me when he's trying to get it right, the more he's trying to get it right, the less like, it just sucks. It's just flat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love that's awesome.
I think
I love what you
is a technical term, by the way.
Well, if it isn't, we have coined it now. I wonder if we can figure out how to spell it. I think what you said about curiosity and play is a huge part because and enjoyment, right? It's like if you're having that conversation, but you're not even enjoying yourself, and usually if you're trying to get it right, then there's no room for enjoyment. Mm-hmm. I found, so if you're doing all those things and not able, really what happens is that you're not able to put attention on her. Mm-hmm. So you're in your own head almost having this conversation with yourself. And meanwhile, there's this gorgeous woman in front of you who's either smiling or moving, or she's, what she's doing, if you were actually paying attention, would probably totally turn you on and light you up, which is another side point, right? Which is like, if you're afraid of letting yourself be turned on by a woman, then that's totally going to get in the way too.
Well, let's go into that because because I know that happens with me. I may feel attraction and it's like, better zip that up. That's not safe. Or she may be scared of me, or that I'm going to be seen as like some pervert. But even in a Starbucks, you're saying, no, if you're attracted to, like, walk us through that. It's like, it's not at a nightclub. It's not, where you can go grind your dick up against her ass, and it's completely accepted or whatever. It's like, you're in a Starbucks, you're going to go have a conversation. And so how do we integrate attraction in a place where things are more neutral?
Yeah, it's an awesome point. And I just want to say that I really have a lot of compassion for men. I used to, feel frustrated or angry with men in the way that they, that some men show their turn on and their attraction. But I've just learned over, a decade of working with men that it's so challenging to know what to do with turn on in a world that doesn't talk about it, doesn't give you any way to say, here's how to actually feel your turn on without being sleazy or slimy. And so I really get that where most men are coming from in being nice or playing it safe is actually really respecting women, and trying to make it okay for us and trying to not be that guy who's a predator. So I just want to say that first.
That's huge, actually, coming from a woman, because most of us, and I hate to interrupt you, but most of us, that's why we're doing. That's why we clamp it off and cut it off, is because we want to protect. We want to get it right. We don't want to push you away. It's not coming from some kind of a hurtful thing, or we don't mean to be, kind of pissing you off as you led with that. So yeah, and I mean, it actually brings tears to my eyes because I see so many men struggling with that and being raised to be nice and courteous, and I, as a woman, I'm like, I want to have my clothes ripped off, and I want to have that kind of animalistic power that men are so amazing at, and that has me feel like I'm almost not fragile, but like I'm this
this is hard to even put into words, but that like I get to feel smaller and lighter, and I get to be moved around. And so there's this,
you get to feel his power.
Yeah, I get to feel his power. And it's not that I feel less powerful or powerless, but I get to choose to then surrender and to be guided or to be played with in a way that feels amazing. And so I see a lot of men struggle with that. It's like, well, how do I do that in a way that's not sleazy or slimy or disrespectful to women? And I think the point that you're bringing up of, okay, well, how do you be in a Starbucks and integrate turn on with everything else? Really the way that I see turn on is that it's energy, and it's energy in your own body. You don't have to reach out with turn on. That's a second step, right? So the turn on that we feel in our own bodies is just energy and aliveness and vitality. And when we make it seem like turn on is only about sex, then I think that's where we get stuck, right?
So when if we just look at her and we're like, wow, I don't even just want to fuck the shit out of her. Like that kind of energy is coming through. Is that where it goes off the rails? Is that what you're saying? When you lead with that energy?
No, what I'm saying is that if you feel that energy in your own body, like, oh my God, I want to take her, I want to fuck her, I want to get naked with her. Like, to actually feel that in your own body and feel the buzz and the bigness of that and what happens to you, there's not a problem. It's when you then try to reach out and make something happen, and you don't have a sense of this woman is another human being, right? Mm-hmm. Who I also want to respect. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to appreciate her and care about her. So if you reach out without, this is the way I look at it. It's like, we could be in our head, we can be in our heart, or we can be in our balls. Well, I don't have balls, but you have balls. You could be in any of those places. And so the reaching out from that place of being turned on, but not at all connected to your heart, is going to have women be scared and maybe want to run away, or maybe see you as sleazy and creepy.
Okay, so there's something about like that's where the predatorial thing is. Like when he doesn't recognize her as a human being, he can have this full on attraction and add the and in there. And who is this person? Who is she? And I think I love how you put that, because a lot of us as guys, it's one or the other. She's either a friend or someone I want to have sex with. And for a lot of it can, guys get stuck in this friend zone with the chit chat thing. And then you're right. We feel that energy go away. We've muted it and we've basically banished it to the basement. And now where do we build that attraction? Well, we stuffed it. We flushed it. It's gone. And it's going to be hard to rebuild again. All right. So we're back in Starbucks and the guy's feeling his attraction for her. Let's go back into that scenario.
Yeah, I could see a man saying to me, wow, you look gorgeous, or wow, the moment I saw you walk in the door, I just felt this rush of energy through my body, or, some kind of acknowledging that this is what's happening for me, not saying, oh my God, I want to fuck you, which
okay, I have to take that one off. I got to take that one off my list. Then
take that one off your list.
Okay, all right. That's not a good opener. Okay.
It's not the best opener. Yeah. I think you might get slapped, but I'm not going to say it's not possible if you're a man who's totally in your heart and deeply respectful of women, but yeah, I wouldn't start with that,
Okay.
But, so there's a way that if you say something like that and you're taking all that turn on and energy and you're bringing appreciation for a woman, what I've experienced is that I feel I just feel great. I feel amazing. Like, I, as a woman, want to be seen and acknowledged, and I want to be seen as beautiful or hot and sexy. And, some women deny that. I think I used to think like, I shouldn't want that. I shouldn't want to be seen in that way. But it has me open and blossom in this way that feels like a really feminine, fundamental thing, and as a woman, I can't depend on that. If I was only depending on a man saying I'm beautiful to feel good about myself, then that's a problem. But as women, like, we really want to be acknowledged. And you can go deeper than just the surface, because I think if you actually put attention on someone you're seeing more than just the surface or the body or the curves. I totally acknowledge that that's there, but I think there's also a way that we feel. We can feel like a person's energy or essence, and it's a little woo-woo. But when you see someone, you get a sense not only of this is what your body looks like, but this is how you feel as a human being. And when I'm around you, wow.
This feels good.
Impact on me.
Yeah, this feels good. I'm coming back to this thing that you said of for a guy to be able to feel that energy and basically hold on to it, or basically keep it there and allow himself to experience this, because as guys, we've been training ourselves from a very early age to get rid of that energy as quickly as possible. It was like, there's that energy. Oh, I got to masturbate and ejaculate now. I've got to get rid of it. It's a race. And this goes in the other way of like, no, circulate it, feel it throughout your body, feel it in your balls, feel it racing through your blood and down into your feet, the whole thing. Breathe, take big breaths. And the more that you can sustain that and actually feel it, and I don't know, it's like feeling like this amazing current in your body, then you can access so much other stuff. But if you're just looking for ways to offload it, that's what's going to be really, and I think that's where it comes across as like, hey, I need you to receive my ejaculation. That's basically
I'm just going to come on you in Starbucks as opposed to like, whoa, I'm going to make love to you in this way where, it doesn't have to be over right away. We can keep feeling this energy and feeling it and feeling the pleasure, right? It's like if you, normally your system maybe can hold 50 watts of energy, and a woman walks in the room and she's, say, like 1,000 watts, and so you can either just blow out, or like you're saying, you could actually breathe into your arms, breathe into your legs, breathe into your feet, and let those 1,000 watts. You actually do. This is the thing. You do have the capacity to hold way more energy than you know right now, or way more energy than you've ever held. And that's part of it, like you said, Tripp, that you can actually breathe it into the rest of your body. And it's interesting because it's not complicated. It's actually really simple. But if you don't practice it, or if you don't, unlearn the habits that you have that keep you small and tight and not in your body and not breathing and not like actually appreciating, then it starts to feel like it's uncomfortable, and it can make you frustrated and mad. And so it's like that thing, like you were saying, like, oh, men have been trained to, if I feel turned on, I'm going to ejaculate and get rid of it. And then I'm back in this state of relief.
Right.
But you can actually feel way more pleasure and even relief in that state of being turned on, even on a regular basis, and not having to offload that energy.
Because when I talk to some guys about this, that what they're trying to do is numb themselves so that when they're in that situation, whether they're approaching or talking to a woman, they don't feel anything. And but what you're saying is, well, if he's not feeling something, then it's flat. Like, so what? Yeah. Why would I want to hang out with this guy? So it's the other way of, no, don't mute it. Don't numb it. Actually expand your capacity to be with this energy, because that's getting communicated, whether you're, it's the written word that you said or not. It's your turn on and your energy is getting communicated, and that's what you feel. That's what you want to feel. And so, just don't mute it. Don't act like it's not there. Don't put this like wet towel over it. You cultivate it, learn how to be with it more. I love to tell guys, like, go to the mall and just look at every beautiful woman in the eyes and smile and say hi to her and just feel it. Like, she may look at you and run or whatever. Like, just get into that place of not running away from women and that attraction, and actually learning how to meet them there, even if you don't have a conversation. Just learn how to circulate that.
I love that. And I also love the realization that I had years ago is that turn on and attraction is actually not comfortable. So like you said, a woman may run away, or she may feel intimidated, or she may even feel like you are a predator or think you are a predator, but that doesn't actually mean that you are. Like, I've had men, when a man who's really present and really in his body and really appreciating me and looking at me and feeling his turn on, when he looks at me, I may want to run out of the room. And I may start to get really uncomfortable, and my hands may start to sweat, and I may have no idea what to say next, and I may start to get all weird and giddy. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Right? Like, if a man makes me uncomfortable, it's not necessarily a bad thing. There are just different kinds of uncomfortable. And one is where I feel, looked down upon or disrespected or objectified. And then the other is when I'm in like such a state of excitement and pleasure and maybe even turn on that I start to open and my mind starts to go away. And I may not have my normal capacity, for some of those moments to actually just be clear and mental and in my head.
Well, this seems to come back. Yeah, well, this seems to come back around to what you were talking earlier about his attachment or need to have it to get it right, basically. And if I need her to like me and my life sucks, but if she likes me, then everything will be great. If I can get a date, then everything will be great. And so when he's in that place, it sounds like he's coming from the place of I got to get it right. I have to get this right. Versus I'm just going to be honest. This is how this is how I'm feeling, and I'm going to throw it to her and see how she's responding to. But I can't be attached to the outcome, and I think that's a huge discrepancy here of not being attached to her reaction. But so many of us are coming into this, and that's why we're stuck, is we're trying to get it right. And what you're saying is be willing to be honest with where you are, even if she's scared, even if she gets a little wobbly. Let her have her experience, and trust that just being more honest is the path. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. And what another point that just came up for me as you were saying that is, if you are so starving for love and affection and touch that every woman you talk to is like the way out, if that's how you're seeing women, then it is way more painful for you if a woman says no. And it sets up this dynamic, like you said, like, oh, well, if she says yes, then I'm good, and if she doesn't, then I'm bad. And there is a way that we can feel that in each other. It's like, I feel from a man, then you need something from me, and I can feel that. And a lot of women can feel it without being able to put language to it. I happen, because I've been doing this for a long time, I can actually feel it and notice, oh, that's what's going on, is he doesn't feel okay unless I'm actually affirming him or approving of him,
Now
so
she's got a job to do. She's got work to do.
Exactly. Okay. So I think the other thing is, if you don't have good, I'm just looking at a woman on the East Coast, and I've been thinking about doing this, who started a cuddling business, right? And it's like, in some ways, I don't know, it seems a little weird, but a lot of us are starving for touch. If you're not in a community of people where you're dancing or you're touching or, people are affectionate with each other, then there's this way that you can feel starved, and you're trying to, get your first meal after 10 years or something from this one person. And it feels like so much pressure. So I think when you create your life, like you were saying before, when you create your life in a way that you have really, you have good people, and that can take time and can take energy to figure out how to make that happen. But okay, I have good people, or I'm, working with someone like you or me who does coaching and can actually guide you into what it's like, so that you're feeling good about yourself, no matter what someone's response is. Then it's a whole different thing. Then you're going out there from this place of enjoyment. And, sure, it still doesn't feel great if a woman says no or a woman rejects you, but it's not devastating in that same way.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. Well, I'm going back to when I was single, and I was one of those guys that I just kind of waited until a girl approached me, and I did okay. But I wasn't a natural. I didn't have choice. And there were guys that I knew that maybe didn't have this or have that, and they maybe didn't stand out in a crowd or whatever, but they could walk up to any girl and actually get things going. I was like, gosh, man, how does he do that? And so what could be just some simple practical tips that we could work in? Because what we've been talking about is kind of like this iceberg thing, when you got a lot more going on than we see on the surface. And so given that he's working to create that, what are just some simple practical things that we could give him, so when he is in a Starbucks or he's at the gym, he can just do this without feeling like a douchebag?
Yeah, I think this is great. And I have 3 things that I think are really helpful that, are instead of having pickup lines or some game to play, right? The 3 things that I would focus on are appreciating, noticing, and being curious. So you can do any of these. And, appreciating looks like, okay, you see a woman, and we talked about this before, but it might be as simple as saying, you look beautiful, or the way your skirt, flows when you walk in the room is amazing. Or it has to be, if you're not really a poetic man, then it could just be super simple. Like I remember someone saying, "I like your face." And it seemed like a ridiculous comment, but there was something so innocent or like unassuming, or, just whatever, unplanned about it, that it actually worked. So really just appreciating and putting your attention on, oh, well, how is this woman lighting you up or turning you on? And what is better in this moment since you saw her than it was in the last moment?
What's the impact of her being in here and being in the room?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then for noticing, it's a similar thing, but taking out the judgment. And you can see, positive or negative judgment, but it's like even saying something like, you look rushed. Or it seems like you're mowing something over, like you're in the middle of deep thought. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Or, hey, you're eating your salad with your fingers. Like it's the simple noticing before we make any kind of inference or, what that means about someone can be the easiest and actually most amazingly connecting thing to focus on.
Just naming what's going on. You don't have to attach it to anything of what this means or what it says about her. It's just, you're eating with your hands. Like,
right. And then just pause. And then, a woman might say, well, I always eat my salad with my hands. Or I like it better.
I was raised in the wilderness,
Right. And then you'll get this piece of information that probably will be interesting that then you can actually follow up with. And that also is the curiosity piece, to ask a question. And I would say the thing about this is just to really ask something you're interested in. And if small talk is exciting to you and you want to know where a woman grew up, then okay, go for it. But if really deeper, I've worked with a lot of men who don't like small talk. And I'm like, okay, so ask a deeper question. Ask a question that's more like, what's the most interesting thing that's happened to you today? Or what are you really excited about right now? Or, how's your week going? Like, in a way, how's your week going could be small talk. But if a woman says, fine, maybe you say, no, I'm actually really curious. I'd really love to hear or something. Or, you something about you is intriguing to me, and I don't know, I have a sense that I'd just like to get to know you more. So just to bring whatever level, I think you can bring whatever level of conversation is most exciting to you, and you can make that work, because that would be you enjoying yourself instead of this planned, dull conversation that you're not even really interested in.
Yeah, all of the things that you mentioned there didn't require that he had to have it all figured out while he was on the other side of the room. It was really about being in the moment and being present and noticing her and noticing what's going on, noticing, when she put her hair behind her ear, how he kind of went, ooh, wow, right. Oh man. And just actually being there instead of being up in his head, as you were describing. And that's where we cut off the attraction and we cut off the connection. And so these tips, all of them are just really about coming into the moment, connecting. What's the impact of her on me or this room? Like, I noticed when you walked in, 15 people looked at you, or anything. It's just like, we're right here. We are both right here. We're both right now. This is what we're sharing right now. I like that. Instead, I've got to have it all figured out and have it all together.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of it is there's a willingness to let go of planning and figuring out what's going to happen, which could lead to silence, or, it leads in a way to the unknown, which is actually, if you're planning, it's still unknown, but you're just almost squashing the life out of the moment and out of what can happen. But it is a little bit. I've heard a lot of men say, like, "Oh my God, it's so scary," or "It's risky." But I think also when you start to see that silence doesn't have to be terrifying. You can actually stand and look at a woman in silence for a certain length of time and not have it be creepy or weird because you're really there appreciating her, or that you can have conversations that are out of the ordinary, and they don't have to necessarily be based on this intense content. They could actually be based on the moment and the connection. The words may not even make sense, but you may be feeling each other in that. It's like there's so much that can happen, and once you allow for more of that, I think it's easier to let go of planning. But it takes something. It takes some practice, and it takes a willingness to let go of, I have to get it right, I have to do this thing, and thinking that getting it right and planning is what's actually going to have a woman be connected to you.
Yeah, I love that. Planning is just going to, and trying to get it right basically just squashes any kind of real road to attraction. But hey, let's go into the unknown. Let's go into the uncertainty, because that's where the real juicy stuff is. And if you're willing to go into there, then you're bound to be rewarded. So, well, tell us a little bit about your coaching. I mean, this is just, I imagine, just one of the roadways into what's possible with working with you and how you help guys. So, where would you take a guy from here?
Part of the way I work is in the session, and then we also co-create exercises that he does in his life outside of the session, and actually gets to see, when I went to go say hi to a woman, I froze. Okay, so then we bring it back to the session and we talk about, what happened and where did you get stuck and why did you freeze? And, we go into some of the deeper things, like whether something happened when he was young and it had him feel stuck and really embarrassed. And so there's some of that deep diving into what's getting in the way from the past. And then there's playing with life, because if you're just coaching in this session, but then you're not actually bringing it out into your life, then that doesn't work either.
Right.
And then one of the things that I think is the most amazing and fascinating is getting to be in the moment together. So we'll practice having conversations, or we'll practice, whether it's on Skype or in person, actually having eye contact. And I'll give this real-time feedback of, when you took a deep breath like that, oh my God, my whole body relaxed and I felt turned on. Or right now, I'm not feeling you breathe, and I'm not breathing, and I'm feeling tight. I'm going into my head, and I'm starting to wonder when I can get out of here. And so there's actually this way where a man can start to feel the difference. Oh, this is what it feels like in this moment. This is what it feels like in this moment, and start to feel more comfortable in his body, in his attraction. I've worked with men who have been like, I can't look at a woman, I can't look at her breasts. And I've been like, okay, well, let's sit here and you look at my breasts, because this is, if you can't look at a woman and you can't enjoy a woman, then it's not gonna happen. And so, okay, like I'm willing to put myself on the, what'd you say, like on the altar, on the cross or something, and be the woman who you can practice with, and know that I'm not judging you and I'm not making you wrong, and that I'm actually an ally on your side.
That's awesome. And I just realized, why when I offer to show my clients my breasts, it doesn't work. So, It's kind of the same as when I offer to show my balls, it doesn't work, because, It doesn't work for me either. I'm like, what do you think of these? They're like, oh man, you're fired. All right. Well,
yeah, it doesn't work.
I love what you're doing. It's great to have women like you that are willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with guys, because so many guys see it as this win-lose thing, or it's just such a screwed up defensive situation instead of like what can be fun and juicy and co-creative. And so, well, where do we find out about you and all your offerings? Where do we send this guy?
Yeah, well, the one thing that I've created is an e-course that's called 5 Ways to Make a Woman Moan with Pleasure Without Even Touching Her. Somehow the name just totally makes me laugh, but it's at themanshewants.com/pleasure. And it's just really about all of the ways that most men don't really look at, how can I light a woman up, turn a woman on, have this amazing experience of pleasure for myself and also for her, that doesn't have to do with the sexual positions and, getting it right in those ways. It's like about conversations and eye contact and being emotionally connected. So it's really insights into how to create that spark and that turn on before you even bring touch into the picture, but then actually have the woman feel warmed up and excited to come closer and to touch you.
Excellent. Well, one of the things I appreciate about you is that, we could learn these things to maybe hit on the party girl whose attention's all over the place. But I mean, the stuff that you're talking about is like, we want a quality woman. We want a woman that we can create a life with. This is the path. Like, Shana's going to be able to help you out with that. Like the girl you do want to take home to your parents or to meet your friends. It's the woman you're really psyched to have in your life. So
that's so well said. Yeah, that it's not about. It's like I work based on, I consider myself to be a professional, intelligent woman who really likes to go deep in connection. And so I support men in creating that with women similar to myself and similar to the women who I spend time with and really adore. And so, the other thing is, if you're feeling like you really want that personal attention, you can go to my website, themanshewants.com/application. And that's where you can just fill out a couple questions about yourself. And if there are coaching slots available, then we can work together. So I get back to you, within a couple days of you filling it out, and we get to know each other and see if it feels like a fit to work together and support you.
Highly recommended. Shana James, thank you. And thank you for bringing your boobs today.
Yeah. Thank you, Tripp. It's always awesome to work with you.
I was trying to get it right, but I messed up. I wanted to say your wisdom and all your awesomeness. So.
See, and I still actually felt appreciated.
See? It works. I got it right. Yay!
Woohoo!
All right, my dear. Thank you so much, guys. Check it out, themanshewants.com. Shana James, thank you. There's so much more to The New Man than these interviews, so visit thenewmanpodcast.com and join the mailing list so you never miss another update. Thanks for listening.